and welcome back to the Black Ordinary Podcast, a monthly conversation about Black art, Black archives, and Black autonomy. I'm your host, Caitlin B. Jones, and the proud founder of the Black Ordinary Project. The Black Ordinary Project is a multimedia platform, resource hub, and database of community-based archives and community-based archival projects dedicated to the preservation of Black American history and culture. This podcast is one of the many ways that the project platforms Black artists, Black archivists, Black community members, Black historians, anybody Black who's doing the work to preserve the collective memories of Black America. I am so excited to kick off Season 2 with the incredible Julia Craven. Julia Craven is an award-winning health journalist whose reporting has been cited in peer-reviewed medical journals, referenced by the American Medical Association, and featured in the Best American Science and Nature Writing 2021. Her bylines include The Washington Post, Vox, New York Magazine, Slate, 538, NBC News, and Popular Science. She founded Healthy Futures, a Substack top 10 rising newsletter in health and wellness, and the Library of Black Wellness. The Library of Black Wellness is a free public archive built on a single thesis, that Black health and wellness, past, present, and future, deserves rigorous documentation and public accessibility. It preserves the figures, traditions, and knowledge systems mainstream wellness coverage has historically left out, and makes them available to anyone who wants them. Researchers, practitioners, curious readers, the next generation. It's part cultural preservation, part working reference, and a corrective to a public record that has for too long treated Black wellness as a footnote rather than a foundation. I really enjoyed my conversation with Julia, and I know that you will too. Enjoy. Hello, Julia.
Hi.
I'm so excited to have you on the podcast today. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Let's just go ahead and dive right in. This first segment I like to open up the podcast with is called Extraordinarily Ordinary. And it is an opportunity for you to share a name, share a story about somebody who is influential to you and your practice. The Black Ordinary is a site for honoring the extraordinarily ordinary people, Black people and Black American people throughout the country who have either done, amazing things and lived ordinary lives, or lived ordinary lives and may not necessarily made it into the history books, but it's about honoring that entire spectrum. And so please, it's all, the floor is yours. Please share a name and a story.
Yeah, thank you for having me on here. For this, the person who immediately comes to mind is my great grandmother. So her name was Winnie Hogan. I called her Muss, and she was, in hindsight, my introduction to wellness and Black well-being. So she had this habit where every morning she would get up and she would open the blinds. And me being like a groggy teenager, I was just like, why do you do this every day? Like, why is this like the first thing you do after you make a cup of coffee and like have a banana? And she would give me half of the banana too. But her response was that she was letting the light in because it was good for you. So she didn't have like the same degree that Andrew Huberman has, for example, or the same language. But what she was doing was she knew just from her experience that getting sunlight into your eyes first thing in the morning, she knows that she felt better. She knows that she had more energy throughout the day. She knows that she slept better at night. And she knew that those things didn't happen for her on days when she didn't do that.
Mm, I love that, letting the light in. I feel
Yeah.
like that's a metaphor for much larger things in life. Thank you so much for
For
sharing
sure.
and bringing her name to the space. Let's dive right into your practice and learn more about you. Yeah. Let's start with your career and interest in health journalism. What got you started in that field? It sounds pretty niche to me. And in this field, one, what sparked your interest? And two, how often do you see people that look like us within health journalism?
Not enough. I mean, I don't see people who look like us enough in journalism, period,
Mm,
honestly. But what got me into it was I went through this very transformative health experience about, I guess it was 10 years ago now. So I quit smoking. I was a cigarette smoker and I stopped after my grandfather died of lung cancer. And my nana was telling me about this. And she was like, yeah, like you're still smoking though. Like, so this is just a lot. And I went outside and I had my last cigarette that day. Because it just didn't feel right to continue, after that conversation with her. And then I was also having just a lot of health troubles because of it. Like, I wasn't breathing really well. I was getting winded really easily. I wasn't exercising or eating well or really taking care of myself at all. So, quitting smoking started this upstream effect, as I like to say, on my health. And then I became interested in it through my reporting because I had an editor who was like, you're really into this health thing. You should just write about it. Like, try to write about it more. And I was like, no, I don't want to do that. I don't want it to become work. Um, and he was like, well, you're gonna like hate keeping, like, if you keep on writing about stuff that you don't like, you're gonna hate it. So you should just try to write about things that you like. And I was like, okay, fine, whatever. And I gave it a shot and I was like, I do love this actually. And I think about it through a very structural lens. So I write the fun pieces about creatine and like greens powder and stuff because it's important to have balance. But I mostly look at health through a structural lens. So, what is preventing us from being well as Black people?
Mm.
And the answer is damn near everything.
Mm. Wow. Yeah, and for anybody listening who, is a Black journalist and who's interested in getting into health journalism, is there a certain path or recommendation that you have for somebody who may just be starting out, or is well into their career and is kinda caught maybe the health bug, as you did? Which congratulations, by the way. I don't Is it called sober when you when you stop smoking? I don't know what's the correct term here?
I don't know either. I mean, I guess it would be sober because it's an addiction.
Yeah.
So I guess,
Well,
yeah.
congratulations.
Thank you.
Yeah. Yeah, but yeah, please, any advice for somebody who might be listening and is interested in health journalism?
Yeah, I think the best advice that I could give them is go with your gut. And that's like very standard, very typical like journalism advice. But I do think that if you have a pull towards something, towards a story, towards a statistic, toward something that just doesn't feel right to you in the sense that you don't feel like the coverage of it has been done in a way that gives the issue justice or does the issue justice. I think it's very important to follow that impulse and see where it takes you.
Hmm. We'll be right back after a short break. And we're back. As you were, you made the decision to quit smoking. What else in your health journey has led you to the creation of the Library of Black Wellness? So from stopping smoking, all the way to the decision or to the idea that sparked, like, oh, I have to create a platform for this. Like, what is that, and how would you describe that journey for yourself?
Yeah, that's a really good question. And I don't think anyone's ever asked me that. Um, I would say that it was the library felt like the logical next step after Healthy Futures, which is my Substack. So, Healthy Futures is a place where I write toward the future. I'm just like, okay, so this thing is happening now, or this thing happened in the past, but it's relevant now. And if we don't do something about it, or if we don't look at it a certain way, here is how this could carry forward into the future for us, whether that be good or bad. The library is a place where I spend time in the past. And I dig into ancestral health and wellness practices that are the foundation for how we think and talk about wellness in the US currently, even if we're not the ones profiting from it.
Mm.
But I got there because I was doing all of this research for Healthy Futures. And I was like, I'm finding out all of this cool stuff. I'm thinking about my family more. I'm thinking about the fact that, my Nana would always throw the bones of whatever, protein was going in the greens that day. The bones would go in there and it would make like this very rich broth, which is very similar to bone broth, and how like we were always doing these things and I always ate kale growing up. And I was just thinking more about that and doing a lot of research into other Black families and Black people who were doing it too, particularly down south. And I didn't have anywhere to put it, but I thought it was really interesting.
Mm.
And I was going to just make like an Airtable database and put it all in there and just say, hey, like, I find this stuff I think is interesting. People should go through it. And a really good friend of mine was like, that's kind of like trash. Why would you do that? Like, that's like you're wasting something if you go that route.
Mm.
And I was like, okay, fine. I'll like explore this a bit more and think about it. How can this look visually? How can it become a place where we keep all of this information in one place? And is it an archive or is it a library?
Mm.
Is it are there time constraints on it? Do I even want to limit myself in that way? Not that I think archives are limited, but in a way they are. Like they have a set
Mm.
framework that they work within. And
Mhm.
I decided that I didn't want to do that. And I also chose library because it gave me, on top of giving me more just wiggle room to kind of do whatever I want, because I
Mhm.
really appreciate wiggle room to do what I want.
Same.
Um, it was also a political choice. Like, we're at a moment where libraries are under attack, public spaces, public infrastructure is under attack. And I have very fond memories of going to the library when I was a kid. When my Nana would go to the grocery store, I would sit in the library and I would use the internet and I would use the computers because at that time we didn't have internet at my house. I grew up low income, grew up poor. Sorry if my family is listening. They don't like me to frame it that way, but it's the truth. We were poor. And I spent a lot of time at the library checking out books, reading, doing research for schoolwork, playing around on the computers, playing Club Penguin and, stuff like that. Um, and these fond memories, plus the political attacks on libraries and how there are so many people where if we don't continue to uplift libraries, there are so many people who are not going to get the same access to education that I got, the access that helped me create a better life for myself.
Mm.
That I wanted to really put emphasis on that. So that was the thinking behind library versus
Mm.
archive.
Yeah. Yeah. And anybody listening out there, stop right now, go to your local public library and get yourself a
Yes.
library card.
Yes.
Support your local public library. Just
Yes.
shameless plug for public services. Um, I want to thank you for sharing that. I want to touch on something you said earlier, which was that we don't benefit from the wellness industry. Can you speak more onto that statement?
Yeah, I meant financially.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, a
Yeah.
lot of the people who are making bank in wellness are white
Hmm.
women,
Mm.
and, that irritates me, frankly, because it's another industry that we are being cut out of after playing a role in its foundation and how it's understood in
Mm.
America. Um, so that's what I was speaking to there.
Yeah. Yeah. Is there a future in which you see Black people do benefit monetarily from the wellness industry, or is the intention behind the library to keep this knowledge in house? Or who was the library for when you were creating it? Who was the intended audience?
Yeah. So my intended audience was Black people.
Hmm.
Um,
Yeah.
that's always my intended audience,
Yeah.
honestly.
Yeah. Same.
Um, I write for and among and with Black people.
Hmm. Hmm.
And, if other people want to come in and learn from that,
Mhm.
then, great, wonderful. Like, I think that's awesome.
Yeah.
I think it's fantastic if anybody uses the library. But I don't have everybody in mind
Right. Right.
when I'm focused on things that are pertinent to Black people. And so I forgot the rest of the questions.
No, that's okay. Maybe it'll help. So the reason why I ask is because I think often about like in creating these online spaces for Black communal knowledge and spaces where either whether archive or a library where you're pulling together, you're curating information with the intent for it to be uh, for our Black community, right? With an online space, right? There's always it's anybody can access it. And
Mhm.
so I'm curious if you ever think about what it means to curate this space and have like a digital space, but also maybe are there ways in which you collaborate in person with people and when it comes to wellness or um, yeah, I'm just always thinking about like, oh, have this thing where it's like I want Black people to know about it, but there's also this beauty in like the community, right? Because the library also has an opportunity for people to contribute for community contributions to the library. And I'm
Mhm.
wondering how that community and that communal work translates to like tangible real life sometimes, and if that's ever a part of the work that you do.
Yeah, that's a part of the work. Like, I want the library to become that. It
Yeah.
hasn't yet translated into
Hmm.
anything like real life,
Hmm.
but I want it to do that at some point. I'm still figuring that out though.
Yeah.
I haven't figured out yet how to like make it, oh my God, we're IRL doing something together about
Yeah.
this
Yeah.
yet. But that's like on my list of things I want to do.
Yeah, and that was one of my questions. What are your next big plans for it as it grows? And in these community submissions, like, what do you look for when a community member says, "Hey, I want to contribute to this beautiful library that you have growing"?
So, whenever someone is contributing something to the library, the biggest question that I have this on the website too, is that it helps to think about your potential submission through this very specific lens, which is, does the work honor the stories, practices, and cultural knowledge that have helped Black people survive, grieve, love, heal, and thrive across generations? So I give people that very specific, but also kind of broad question to see if their work fits within that. And if it does, it's probably fair game.
Yeah, and I love that it's multimedia in a way where you have digital files, you have audio, you have poetry, you're writing, and so there's multiple ways to tap into the library. And I also want to note that like I enjoy how it expands beyond wellness as simply just like diet and exercise. Like
Oh,
you
for
look at
sure.
wellness at this as this like beautiful holistic experience that Blackness kind of is that can be the foundation for like a Black experience or a Black cultural um, memory. I'm fumbling over my words here, but can you speak more to the Library of Black Wellness and its holistic view of wellness in Black spaces?
Yeah. So thank you for that question too. And I'm very like grateful that you noticed that. So essentially wellness is defined as how Black people have cared for one another
Mm,
and how that care work has influenced our individual and communal well-being.
absolutely.
So, a part of that is food. It's going to be diet. Diet is going to be a part of that. But one way that I like to differentiate it is, for example, if a physician writes a study on cardiovascular outcomes among Black men ages 40 to 70, for example,
Cool.
and someone sends that to me, that's not eligible to be submitted into the library because that is a medical study and that you could argue that it has something to do with well-being. I mean, obviously it does, but that's not what we're getting at here versus if you send me a study about, say, Black midwives in the South who are helping Black women have safer, more holistic birthing experiences. that counts, even
Mm.
though it does tread that very fine line between health, science, and wellness and community well-being. So that's how I like to showcase the difference here in terms of like, one is written through the lens of, okay, so this is the science, this is what the data is saying. And the other one is written through the lens of, well, here's a little bit of data, but at the base of it, this is how this community is taking care of itself.
We'll be right back after a short break. And we're back. Absolutely. I often define like the Black archive as an embodied experience rather than something that's tangible. And so, in continuing to think about this communal well being, how do these healing practices that are either in the library or the healing practices that you're a part of or that you study or that you write about, how do those help sustain the Black archive, this embodied experience of Blackness?
God, I love that. That's such a great way of thinking about it. So, oh, I like this. Let me sit with it for a second.
Yeah, go ahead.
I think so my reaction to that is it embodies it because Black people, particularly Black women, we often don't put our needs first,
Mhm.
and we don't put what we need to care for ourselves first. And so when I'm thinking about the archive and what it embodies, I'm thinking about care and how we exist in a world where our broader systems don't really care for Black people.
At all.
And we have to step in and not only take care of our communities, but take care of ourselves. And I think the most fun thing that I've discovered while putting together the library and some adjacent projects that I can't talk too much about, but some adjacent things is the thinking of the Black Panther Party and how um, Erica Huggins and Angela Davis, when they were imprisoned, they both started practicing yoga
Mm.
and meditation, I believe. And when they got out, they took that care of themselves, which they did in order to steel themselves and stay resilient against what they were facing. They took that and they expanded it out into the community. And so it became like a taking care of yourself is how you take care of your communities, but
Mm.
you also have to like actually do things to take care of your community, right?
Right, right.
And so that's like all garbled up and like kind of mumbo jumbo-y, but that's my reaction to the question you asked.
Yeah. No, thank you. Um, on the website, I want to talk about two things on the website. The first is uh the very first thing that you see when you open the website, which is Shug Avery. Can you share about Shug and the connection between Shug Avery's journey and the Library of Black Wellness?
Absolutely. So when I was okay, so my friend, close friend of mine, Maya Cade, created Black Film Archive. And the website for Black Film Archive has a video of, I believe it's Josephine Baker dancing when you enter the website. And so when I was putting together the archive, or the library rather, I was like, I don't want to like completely bite off of Maya, but that's a really good idea. Like it's very compelling. Like it it sucks you into the project and like what she's saying. And I was like, I do want to do I mean I am going to take that. Like I want to do that. Um and so when I was thinking about what moment visually I wanted people to see that drives home the point of the library, and that is pretty broadly recognizable among Black people,
Mm.
at least like millennials on up. I don't know about Gen Z. Like The Color Purple might be a little like
Probably
the
have the new
film.
one in the film or the new musical
Yeah.
film in mind, yeah.
Yeah. So I'm just like, I don't know if they'll recognize this scene, but I know that anybody like 30 and up will. And I was like, when I think about Black films that focus on healing in a incredibly radical way that is true to their subject matter and that just brings up this well of emotion in people when they see it. I think about The Color Purple, and I know most people think about, but
Till you do right by me.
right, I know that's what most people think of, but I was like, I don't want to do that one. I mean, exactly, but I
Right.
like that's not what I'm going for.
Yeah, yeah.
And I was like, it's Shug Avery walking into that church. She's finally forgiven herself and she's ready to forgive her father too. And they embrace and you there's no audio in the image because I wasn't able to do it for the website, but what she whispers into his ear is, "See, Daddy, sinners have soul too." And that moment of them reconciling, coming together, her forgiving him. Sure, there's an element of him forgiving her, but it's more so about her forgiving him because she was the one who was wronged, in my opinion, by him. Um, I that moment to me is so indicative of healing, and it's not lost on me that it's in a church, that it's in a rural church, that there's a dirt road leading to that church, um, that, they're singing hymns and gospel music and it's Sunday. And, there were a lot of just various elements to that scene that I think speak to a very commonplace Black experience in America and a place where a lot of people do experience healing, but they also experience hurt
Yeah.
that pushes them into spiritual healing as well. So
Mm.
all of that was just in my head when I chose that scene.
Yeah.
Um, because I was like, I think regardless of what side of the spectrum you fall on when it comes to the Black church, the Black church is a catalyst for so many of us in a variety of ways,
Absolutely.
whether that be positive or negative. So it
Mhm.
just felt like something that everyone could relate to, whether you have had an experience that's more aligned with Shug's, or if you've had an experience that's more aligned with her father's even. I feel like
Yeah.
everyone can kind of find themselves in that. So, yeah, I'm so glad you asked about it. I haven't been asked about choosing that enough,
Mm.
honestly. I'm just like, do you know how much thought went into this? So thank you.
No, it's an incredible choice. It's an incredible choice. What a way to be welcomed into the library as well. And um, yeah, I think that for most Black people who grew up in church, that's the first place that they find communal healing, that they experience communal healing. Whether, again, no matter what side of the spectrum you fall on in your relationship to the Black church, there's probably a moment in your life in which you experience communal healing among Black people in the church. And either that or, like you said, experiences in the Black church were a catalyst for you to experience communal healing outside of the church, right? So again, like that Black church being this catalyst for either or, but regardless, it all comes back to that. And then the second thing I wanted to point out on the website was that you describe your work as protecting wisdom, and you also use words like reconciliation, which we talked a little bit about with Shug Avery and the healing and the forgiveness, and then also this quote, this evolving archive of Black care. Can you talk about how Black ancestral knowledge and community input play a role in the development and the continuation of the library? So we talked about the contributions earlier, but you know, 10, 20 years from now, right? Like what about Black ancestral knowledge and community input help to sustain this and carry it into decades into the future?
Yeah, God, you asked really great questions. Um,
Thank you.
I think it's the same thing that entices me to reach backward now. I think what will make this relevant in 20, 30 years is the same thing that is making stuff from centuries ago relevant now. I There has always been an interest in wellness and well-being, even if we didn't have like the current language that we have for it now,
Mm,
or say the current market. So I think that people will always reach for history in
mm.
order to make sense of where they are now. Um, that might sound a little bit unbelievable considering where we actually are now, like politically, but I do think that, things are circular. And so
Mhm.
history
Yeah.
always plays a role in how we are perceiving our current moments. So that's like the most straightforward answer, I think, is, it's stuff from the past is relevant now, and stuff from now will be relevant in the future because stuff from the past will be relevant in the future.
Yeah, exactly that. Yep, it all comes back around. And we have that knowledge to lean into, and it's always crazy to me to think that, like, oh, the knowledge and the things that I'm contributing to now, like, somebody's gonna reference that in the future. Somebody's, this is like, we are the archive, like, we are the thing that keeps it going.
We are the
Ah,
archives.
we are.
We'll be right back after a short break. And we're back.
So I wanna pivot and go into our rapid fire buzzwords portion of the podcast. I
Oh,
did
okay.
not tell you about this
No, you
because
didn't.
I want I never do. I never tell my guests this
Oh
because
my
I want this
god.
to be truly like top of dome.
Okay.
And it's just, I have 9 words here, 9 words slash phrases. I'm going to say them. And I just want you to say the first thing that comes to your mind. It could be the first word that comes to your mind or the first short phrase. Sometimes guests go on like a tangent and they're like, oh, and this sparks another. So however you react to these words,
I'm scared.
please.
A little
Look,
scared.
no, no, B. You're gonna do great. You're gonna do great. Okay, here we go. Wellness,
Black.
community,
Church.
cultural memory.
Wait. I wanna add something to church.
Please do. Please do.
I don't know where that came from.
It's okay. There's no wrong answers.
No, I know, but I'm just like, I'm shocked that that's what
Mm,
came to mind.
mm,
So I'm just like, church, where did church come from? I don't know. I think this conversation has like, I tell like people all the time that no matter how I evolve personally, I think that little girl who was hot, and I'll never forgive my grandmothers for that, who was hot in those big fluffy dresses sitting on the pew every
Ah.
Sunday with grease on her face
Oh
and
my
dripping
God.
down out of her hair. Like but I think like this whole conversation, I think that that's like that speaks to how you're always that part of yourself,
Mhm.
right? It never really goes away. And for
Right.
me, like being again overheated in church on Sundays for too long is always like a part of me when I think about my own lineage and when I think
Mhm.
about community. And it's so funny because I never would have expected that to come out my mouth.
Mm.
And if I had had this in advance, it wouldn't have. So good on you for that.
Gotta keep you on your toes. Gotta
Oh,
keep
so
it
it's like
exciting.
church. Where did that come from?
No, that's beautiful. That's beautiful. Yeah. I read a quote one time. When I say I read a quote, I mean it was like a tweet or something. But it always stuck with me. It was like, we are an archive of everybody that's ever loved us. And I'm just like, oh, like I think about that all the time. Whereas like when you have these visceral reactions to something and you're like, I don't know where that came from, and then you realize it, and it's like, oh, like that was when I was 7 and this happened, and like, yeah, like somebody loved you enough to grease you up and put you on a dress, put a dress on you, and say, here, sit on this pew. Like there's love there. Yeah, for sure. The next word or the next phrase, I should say, is cultural memory.
Archives.
Ancestors.
Mine.
Shug Avery.
Purple.
Joy.
Happiness.
Reconciliation.
Necessary.
Black care.
Necessary.
Liberation.
Necessary.
Yep. And that is it. You can breathe now. The rapid fire buzzword section's over.
Yay!
Thank you for participating. Thank you for being vulnerable. Thank you for just, thinking on your toes. I appreciate it.
No, that was fun. That was fun.
Yeah, it's always a good time, and it's always wonderful to see guests be like, "Oh my God, like you didn't send me this before." I'm like, yeah, I know. And as a Virgo, I get it. Like I love to be prepared, but I got to do it to you. I got to do it to you. So in the last segment of the podcast is an opportunity for you to share some literature or writings, either that you've written or books that you have inspired you in your practice. 2 to 3 titles that I can add to the Black Ordinary's website, blackordinary.com, and add to our digital bookshelf. And so this is just a resource page of different titles that have been recommended by all of the Black Ordinary's collaborators. And so I will give you the floor again. How or what books do you recommend for listeners to tap into?
So definitely The Salt Eaters by Toni K. Bambara. That book, and the second one is Sisters of the Yam by Bell Hooks. And both of these books were foundational to my understanding of my own interpersonal frustrations with being well. I was very frustrated that it felt so much like survival to me, and it looked so much like fun to everybody else. And I didn't really know what to make of that. And then I was talking to another close friend of mine who was saying that she read Sisters of the Yam by Bell Hooks, and it was transformative for her. And then I read it, and it was very transformative for me. To read a Black woman writing through the necessity of taking care of yourself was very meaningful to me. And then I remembered, well, I read this really demanding book about being well in college, and maybe I should pick that one up again, and that was The Salt Eaters. So for anyone who hasn't read it, it is a book that requires you to read it deeply in order to make sense of it, because you won't be able to make sense of it if you don't, honestly. And so even the opening question of that book, right? Like, are you sure that you want to be well? That was transformative for me. And eventually that energy rubbed off. It started to rub off on everything that I did from there on out after I reread it a couple years ago. It was during the pandemic. It was like 2021. And I started to come at everything with this, like, initially it was a survivalist lens. It was like, okay, how do we as Black people navigate wellness? How do we navigate our well-being? Like, it's spiritual and it's political and it's emotional and it's mental and it's all of these different things. And how do we make sense of it? And, eventually I started just trying to make sense of it. And all of that work, to go back to one of your earlier questions, like, all of that work is also what led me to the creation of the library. And these two books are not just not just important for me, but they underscore what the library is, and they underscore what Healthy Futures is. And the old name for Healthy Futures before the rebrand was actually Salt and Yams, to
Mm.
like acknowledge these two, not just these two works, but also their authors.
Mhm.
And yeah, I would have to say that those are the two where the the intellectual labor that they ask of you
Mhm.
is the same labor that you have to put into
Yeah.
being well as a Black person in America. You have
Right.
to give it that same level of energy.
Mm. Mhm.
And so, yeah,
Great titles. Absolutely. I will second second the Salt Teachers. I to be honest, I've gotten halfway through the Salt Teachers and had to pause because I was like, I need a
yeah,
moment, and I have yet to go back and read the second half. So that is on my to-do list, and that is my charge I'm giving to myself after this conversation, is to finish that, because it is a deep read.
it
Um,
is.
yeah.
And then it's like written in basically like stream of consciousness too. Like, it's
Yeah.
very, it's heavy. It's a heavy
Mhm.
subject. It's like the politics around it are very heavy.
Yeah.
Um, those politics being like the ones written about in the book, like fighting for civil rights and trying to keep a marriage and a home together, and how Black women have historically not gotten enough support from their communities or
Mhm.
from their partners. And
Yeah.
yeah, it's just I think for myself and for a number of Black women who read it, it is it hits so close to home. And then the actual, like, difficulty of the text doesn't help either.
Right. Indeed, indeed. Well, I this has been an incredible conversation. And I want to ask, is there anything else that you want to share, whether it be a resource, whether it be, and anything about your journey? The floor is yours again to just share any last thoughts, any last words. Also, let listeners know where they can find you on social media, where they can find your Substack, all that good stuff.
Yeah, I don't have anything else to add, honestly. I think I have talked enough. Um, but you can find me at blackwellnesslibrary.com. That's the Library of Black Wellness. The newsletter portion of that, Healthy Futures, and the Library of Black Wellness newsletter are both on healthyfutures.blog. And as far as social media, I am on Instagram and TikTok as Rocket Juju, I think. I'm certainly Rocket Juju on Instagram. On TikTok, I might be Julia Craven.
Okay.
I don't know
I'll
yet.
I'll get it from you and link it in the caption below so
I can't
they
remember
can
which
click
one it
directly
is.
to it. No worries, no worries. Just in closing, I do want to say I want to share this quote from the site that was really powerful as I was reading it. It says, "By preserving these works, we protect the wisdom that has always sustained us and continue building futures where rest, resistance, and joy are our birthright." And so thank you so much, Julia, for your labor in putting this together and putting the library together. Thank you for your time and joining me on the podcast. And I'm so excited to see where your wellness journey, where your personal journey takes you next. And I look forward to keeping up with the growth of the library.
Thank you so much for having me, and likewise.
Thank you.
Yay!
Thank you for tuning in to this episode of the Black Ordinary podcast. The Black Ordinary is a grassroots platform dedicated to uplifting the collective memories of Black America. Be sure to check out our collective memory database and more resources on our website, theBlackOrdinary.com. For more Black art, Black archives, and Black autonomy, you can follow us on Instagram @The Black Ordinary and subscribe to our YouTube channel @The Black Ordinary. Stay Black and stay blessed. See you soon.